that officially, right? Good evening, for all of you, those of you in attendance. I'd like to welcome you to the Indian Trail Planning Board meeting for Tuesday, June 20th. We've got one item, I believe, on the roster here, or the agenda, and we'll go through a roll call. And if you would, raise your hand and say your name, and we'll start with Meg, please.
Meg Fielding.
Travis Day.
Larry Dukes.
Sidney Sandy.
Natanya Walton.
And absent. You got those, Jennifer?
Yes, sir. I do. Thank you.
I'd like to take a motion for any discussion or approval of the minutes from our May 16th meeting.
I'll make a motion to be approved.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I think it was unanimous. All right, I guess we have one item on our agenda tonight. The item is ZM 2023-0086, the Eford rezoning. And I think we have Yosu, you're doing that presentation tonight?
Yes, thank you. So let's get started with what we have for your consideration today. This is a conventional rezoning request. And I first want to start by highlighting what type of rezoning this is. This is a rezoning where no development plans are required from the applicant, and we can't consider any special land use conditions or development conditions. We see that more with the conditional rezoning cases. This zoning request is to, and let me move on with the presentation here. So this request is to rezone two vacant parcels from SF1 to GBD. SF1 is single family low density, GBD is general business district. These parcels are located at the corner of Old Monroe Road and Pickett Circle. And if we combine these parcels, they total 1.37 acres. The applicant is Mr. Stanley Eford. He's the property owner. And the intent of this zoning request is to increase the marketability of the properties. The first map we'd like to show you is simply this map view that helps us visualize where these properties are, the surrounding area. The subject properties are highlighted in this red border. We can point out three things. Street frontage of these properties is on Old Monroe Road. These properties are part of Valley Estates subdivision. Thank you, Brandy, for increasing the volume. And these properties are also near Commercial Center, Sun Valley Commons, as you can see on the right-hand side of that map. Next, we'd like to show you some photos from a street view perspective. This is one photo of the properties traveling on Old Monroe Road towards Sun Valley Commons. The next photo is simply a different angle, this time traveling on Old Monroe Road, but this time away from Sun Valley Commons towards Pickett Circle. These photos help us see that these properties are vacant. We see that there's a couple of trees, but it also illustrates the high visibility of these properties. The next photo shows us the street view of the property across these subject properties. We can see that there's a single-family detached home, and I added a little detail there that this is a 1951 single-family home on 10 acres. So those slides are to help us get a general understanding of where these subject properties are. Next, let's dive into details and analysis. The subject property, the zoning for the subject property is SF1, single family, low density. The neighboring properties are also single-family, low-density, but it's important to point out that it's sparsely developed. What do I mean by that? Well, as an example, if we were to drive up and down Old Monroe Road within a 1,000-foot radius, we would only run into 4 single-family detached homes. So that gives us a sense of the open space, how sparsely developed those residential parcels are. If we look at the, I want to show this next map. This is the existing zoning map. The subject properties are shown in this yellow border, and we see that on the east side of the properties, those parcels that are highlighted in dark blue or even blue with the white hatching, those are GBD, or general business zoned parcels. The developments that we're familiar with there are the Sun Valley Commons Shopping Center. There's also the ABC store that was recently constructed. And then there's the Harris Teeter Fuel Center. I'm sure that if you've driven by there, you've seen how they've cleared the land, and they're underway with construction. So that's on the east side of those subject properties. On the west side, we see parcels that are zoned NBD, Neighborhood Business District. Those are represented by the parcels that are in light blue. And those parcels are actually the commercial phases of a proposed development called Sagecroft Village. The Sagecroft townhomes, if you've driven by Old Monroe Road, you've seen those that are almost complete. But then those parcels highlighted in that light blue are proposed, or were proposed, to be commercial parcels. So that's an understanding, or that's a review of the zoning, the existing zoning in the surrounding area. And what this map highlights, or helps us support, is that rezoning these properties to general business district, to commercial, is reasonable, given that the surrounding properties, there's plenty of commercial in the area. The next map that we'd like to show you for your consideration is the future land use map. The subject properties are highlighted in this yellow border, and you can see that they are shaded in this dark red color, which represents the future land use recommendation for commercial. You can tell that these subject properties are connected with the rest of the Sun Valley Commons and the Harris Teeter parcels, which are all recommended in the future land use plan as commercial. The yellow parcels are all Valley Estate. The future land use map recommends that those stay as residential. And everything else in this lighter red or pinkish shade represents mixed use, future land use recommendation. So what we learned from this map is also that this map supports the idea of rezoning these properties to commercial because of the surrounding area, the recommended land uses in the area. Final map that we'd like to share with you is simply an aerial view. And this helps us illustrate the future and current developments in the area. So what this map helps us see is what we mentioned earlier. There's commercial developments that are under construction, like the Harris Teeter Fuel Center, where we mentioned we've seen clearing of land. But there's also parcels that have conditionally approved, and we're just waiting for site plans. For one reason or another, maybe there's been reasons why the builders and developers have put their plans on hold, but the approvals for those zonings are in. For example, the Sun Valley Station, which is the square that's on the bottom left, that's where the ABC store is, but that's where also other commercial buildings like a bowling alley, a gym, and a pet store were proposed. So this map helps us illustrate and helps us see that the current developments also support the idea of rezoning these properties to general business district. One more thing that we know is going to happen in this area is the Old Monroe Road widening project. And we've been discussing that in many of our rezoning cases. The impact of this project to the surrounding properties is that it's going to lower the appeal of single-family developments and raise the appeal of commercial developments. So if we group all of this analysis together, the staff can confidently say that the proposed zoning for GBD is a reasonable request, and that's why we can also confidently make this consistency statement. The proposed rezoning is reasonable and is in the public interest because it promotes the goals of the Indian Trail Comprehensive Plan in the areas of economic development and land use and housing. As a few examples here, goal number 1 in the economic development category states that our goal is to create a more balanced tax base and promote a diverse local economy. Goal number 1 in the land use and housing category states that our goal is to promote a variety of land uses and avoid potential land use conflicts. And finally, goal number 6 is to encourage investment in the community. So this rezoning request supports those goals. And so that's it for me. That's my presentation. These are the requested actions that you have before you. If you have any questions, we are here to answer those questions the best we can.
All right, let's go ahead and have the committee ask any questions. Mr. Sandy?
Mr. Chairman, looking at the map that you had up on the board there a while ago, there's 3 lots that are to the southeast of this parcel.
Yes.
They're currently zone zone residential.
Yes, they are. They are still zoned residential.
So basically, everything surrounding this property is basically still residential, correct?
Yes. So you have the properties across the subject properties that we're talking about. That's where we saw that picture of that single-family detached
Right, right.
home on a 10-acre lot. And on that side of the street of Old Monroe Road, there's really just 3 homes that are close to the road. The other properties, now on the same side as the subject properties, those are vacant. Most of the residential developments are inside the Valley Estates subdivision, and so they're kind of in that area, screened, so to speak, from the road.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, one thing that we do know about what the Old Monroe widening project is going to do to some of those properties is that there's going to be a proposed turnaround bulb that will take up most of those properties that you referenced.
So that's where the bulb's going to be?
That's where it's projected to be.
Projected,
yeah.
okay. All right. Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Yep.
The 3 properties he's talking about, would you highlight those up on the board, please?
Yep, I can.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Right
Those are
here.
the 3 you're talking about?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Now, the bulb, according to the last plans that I was reviewing, is they're going to impact more so these last 2 and a portion of this general business district. So it's these last 2 and a little bit of this area also.
Meg, questions?
Does that take the place of the turnaround that they were proposing for the Brandon Oaks entrance to Old Monroe?
I can't recall. There was a lot of turnarounds and
Yeah.
a lot of proposed intersections along that road. I can't recall if they had one, if they moved some from their original locations.
So just out of curiosity, what is the most recent revision of the Old Monroe widening
The one
project.
that I've looked at is the one that they've posted online in the NCDOT website.
The date of that was?
I don't recall what that date is,
Okay.
but I can certainly provide that.
Because I think the last one that I saw was about a year ago when the mayor had a breakfast
Mhm.
downstairs. So there have been changes since then.
I've heard rumors that there's been slight adjustments. And yes, when I've looked at some of the earlier plans, there was those turnaround intersections.
Right.
What are they called when I can't think of, when they go all the way around?
Oh, a roundabout?
Roundabouts, yes. So there were some proposed roundabouts, but then some of the recent plans showed that those were changed.
I would request that when there were revisions to the Old Monroe widening project, if you could at least shoot an email to all of us so that we know to look at the DOT site. I mean, if
Okay.
you can send us the schematic, that would be even better. But if you could just give us a heads up, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Because otherwise, we drive the area and all we know is what we see and not what is coming. Thank you.
Yep,
That's it.
will do. Made a note of that.
Joseph?
What is the setbacks for the properties behind that gonna be?
The setbacks for the residential properties?
Yes, if that's approved commercial, or, what is the setbacks or the buffer for the Valley East State community that connects right up to it?
So let me see if I understand the question. You're asking what are the setbacks for a commercial zone property? Saying if those properties were rezoned to general business, what would be the setbacks for that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I got that information for you. So the general business standards say that, and also keep in mind, and I forgot to mention this, these properties are also within the sub-regional activity center, which also favors the rezoning to general business. If we take that into account, the minimum and maximum front setback is 0 to 15 feet. That's the front setback, a maximum of 15 feet, but it can be as low as 0, according to the UDO. Now, the rear setback, 15 feet, and the side setbacks, 15 feet. That's for general business district within the sub-regional activity center.
So I have a tag-on question of Joe's question, which is, what is the depth of those current lots today?
Mhm.
And how much is the widening process going to take away, and what will be remaining?
Yep. So I have a recent plat that shows those figures. Right now, the depth of these lots is, let me see, about 210 feet.
Okay.
Now, after the Old Monroe widening project, we estimate that these properties will lose between 50 to 60 feet of depth. And so the remaining depth of these lots will be around 160, 170 feet.
And then one more question, tagging on to Joe's questions, good questions, by the way, sir, is kind of in the back of the proposed 2 lots we're talking about,
Mhm.
there are existing homes on those lots, right?
Yes.
And so, what kind of a buffer is there now, or what would be
A-
asked for by the developer if it's developed in the city?
Yes, that's a good question. The required landscape buffer would be 25 feet on the rear and also pretty much all sides because it's surrounded by residential. Now, if your concern is, well, how much buildable area is left with all these restrictions, it is reduced, but it's interesting to note that the minimum lot size for a general business district is 6,000 square feet. Now, if we were to combine these 2 lots after taking into account the landscape buffers, the setbacks, it would be about 0.94 acres, and buildable area would be about 22,000 square feet. So there is room to develop something, even with setbacks and landscape buffers.
So I have another question.
Sure.
So for the two proposed lots we're looking at, those other three that are not part of Sun Valley Commons today, those are zoned today as single-family?
Yes.
So this property, if it would be rezoned, they wouldn't be able to do anything with it unless they put a entrance in off of Monroe, or those other three lots get converted to GBD?
Let me see, or Brandy, maybe you can help me with that one.
Sure, I'd be glad to. So, Mr. Chairman, those three lots to the east are at least the two closest to Sun Valley Commons will probably be a total take. NCDOT will have to buy those out. So the zoning of it's really not going to matter. And then you're going to be left possibly with a portion of a small lot. So essentially, those three lots, really, as much as we want to kind of paint that into the picture, you really can't.
Thank you, Brandy.
So then, I guess I still have another question. So those two that we're talking about, would it, I know that's GBD, they're asking for a rezoning to GBD, but would that allow them to have an entrance coming off of Pickett Circle? How would they
That-
access that?
Yeah. Old Monroe Road is maintained by the state, NCDOT.
Right.
So during the review process, when they submit site plans, that would be something that they would dictate.
So you're saying they would dictate that it would have to go
If
into
it,
Monroe Road?
if it would have to go there, if they proposed an entrance there,
Okay.
they're the final say.
Okay, thank you. Latoya, anything?
I'm good.
Questions? All right. Is Mr. Eford here? Does he want to say anything? Would you like to say anything, sir?
He's doing a great job. Explaining everything very well, I think.
Yeah. And did we have people that publicly signed up then?
Yes, sir. We have Mr. Doug Presley.
Okay.
Thank you very much. My name is Doug Presley. I live at 6308 Monroe Road. The picture of that lovely old White House, that's mine. So you can imagine that I'm very interested in these plans and what's going to happen. It's been an education. I really had no idea where the road stood or the turnback stood or any of this, and so I did not come to cite some specific objection or anything like that. I came just to basically learn what's happening and have some idea when it might be happening. This is also my brother-in-law, Mr. Fred McGee. He lives at 6300 right behind me, so he's also very interested. I gather that at some point you're going to want to take our properties into a commercial zoning at some point. Is that right?
We're just responding to, the development trends.
Understood.
The market.
I'm just here to get a little clearer picture of what's going to happen. I get letters from the DOT saying the road is coming, and they never show up. And then the surveyor comes out and surrounds the house with sticks, and they never show up. And so I'm left really baffled as to exactly what's about to happen next, but I've gotten some idea. Can you have any idea what the development will be across the street from me when it becomes rezoned?
No. In a conventional rezoning, the applicant is not required to submit any plans of development. This is just a simple, straight, they call it straight rezoning.
Understood. One more question. When you do, if and when you do rezone those parcels, is that just those parcels, or are you going to want to rezone across the street?
Just those two. This petition is just for those two parcels.
Understood. Thank you very much.
And I would like to add as well, just as the director of the planning department, in my career, I have been with jurisdictions that rezone people's property without them initiating that, and I choose to not ever do that again. So you can be assured that, at least for my time here with the town, we're not coming to rezone your property. We're waiting for you to choose to do that on your own.
I understand that, and I appreciate your cooperation. It's just that with all the road and the development, and it's coming and going, I have no idea. Am I going to have a house 5 years from now, or is there going to be a Walmart in my backyard? I'm just curious as to what the future holds. So, thank you.
And I wish that our crystal ball worked a little better.
And one other thing to mention, I probably should have mentioned it to begin with, I always try to remember to mention this, but for everybody that's here attending, this planning board here is strictly a recommending body to town council. So this particular item will go to town council. It's TBD right now. I don't think it's on their agenda yet, but it will at some point come to them, and then they have the ability to review it, consider all things, and make a vote based on that.
Okay.
So we are here to support Brandy and Josu in the planning department, which Brandy heads up.
Understood.
We are mere volunteers to try to help her and her staff, and
Well,
Jennifer
like
on that side. But thank you, good questions. So we didn't have any other public comments? Did I miss anything?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, one last chance. Anybody have any last questions before we go to recommend on a motion?
Well, I have some comments.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm concerned about the development right at the end of this at Pickett Circle, and I'm surprised there's nobody here speaking against it, because, I mean, we got approximately 38 lots, best I can count on from the tax map here, and, you know, I don't know where they want a business right at their interest. I know when they built out there, they built to be a residential area and for it to continue to be in a residential area, so, but that was my concern, but there again, there's nobody here against it, so, and staff recommends approval, so I'm fine.
Everybody good? All right. So I'll take a motion for either approval or for denial of ZM 2023-0086.
I move to recommend approval of the zoning map amendment petition ZM 2023-0086.
I'll second.
All right, let's go ahead and go right down the list here, and I'll be last. Meg?
Okay. Meg Fielding, yes.
Travis Day, yes.
Sidney Sandy, yes.
Natanya Walton, yes.
Larry Dukes, yes. I guess that's unanimous. And is there any other new business, Brandy, or anything that we need to have?
We just wanted to add that this case is going to be presented to the town council July 11th.
Oh, for this right here?
Yes.
Thank you. Great. Is there any other business? All right, I'd like to have a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, thank you.